I enjoy the challenge of playing in different rooms. I've played in rooms that have a lot of reverberation. It's like a large room, like a gymnasium. Those are the hardest rooms to play in, but it's also a good challenge because I have to learn, I have to be more disciplined to play consistently quieter, at a consistently quieter dynamic level. And I think that's important for all drummers to learn to do that, to be able to play intensely but still play at a quiet dynamic level. And that's what you have to do, you're forced to do when you're playing in a large room that echoes a lot or that has a lot of reverb. And it poses unique challenges. Just like an extreme opposite to that would be a small room that's carpeted walls, where you're not getting anything back, there's no reverb at all. That poses a different set of challenges. Sometimes I'll play in rooms like that and I feel like I'm bashing the drums and I don't hear anything. So that poses a unique challenge. And it also affects what I play. Like, it affects how I play, and it also affects the choices I make sometimes with setup. Like, I might use, if I know I have to play in a room that has no reverb and that's really dry, I might try to break out a cymbal that's got a lot of stick definition so I can really hear it. I can really hear, the sticks. But when I'm playing in a room that's really got a lot of reverb, I might use something that's generally a little washier, a little quiet. Washier is not a good word, because, but something that I can control a little easier. Maybe it's a better way of putting it.
And what if you come to a place where you had no idea what it was going to be like before you get there? Or are you ever in that situation?
I am, and I hopefully have some time to sit and just play a little bit. Usually it's possible to get to a club and have at least 20 minutes after you set up to just play and get a feel for the room. There's been a couple times where that hasn't been the case, where I just had to set up and play. And it's really interesting because one time I did that, and we were playing in Lexington, Kentucky, and we were late. We were super late to the gig, and we got there and the audience was waiting for us. And I set up, and I was setting up my drums, and then I broke my snare stand while I was setting up. So we're already late, I broke my snare stand, so I had to get duct tape out and duct taping the snare stand together. Get everything set up, we play, never played in the room before, really tired for being on tour, super late, broken snare stand, best gig of the tour. By far, it was the best gig of the tour. I guess maybe the only way I can think about it is I didn't have any time to worry about what I was sounding like or what the room sounded like. I just set up and I had to play, and I just had to deal with it. And and I've been in situations where you're really comfortable, you get to a place with plenty of time, you do an hour sound check, or you get to practice beforehand, and you get to the gig and it just feels like absolute garbage. It's so weird. And that's just uncontrollable, because it's happened in the other way too. Like, obviously, I've gone to plenty of gigs where I've been rushed and the gigs didn't happen. And then I've done plenty of gigs where I've had a lot of time and a lot of rest and everything's cool, and then the gig goes really well. So,
what is it? How is the Hideout? What is the Hideout like acoustically, and what do you do to prepare here?
I really like the Hideout. It's a really comfortable room for me to play in, and it's like being at home. So there's an added comfort to that, knowing that you're playing for the home team without sounding too cheesy. It's a little dry, but I'm used to it. One thing that we've done to deal with the dryness is, before there was rugs on the stage, like a lot of rugs, and we take 2 of the rugs off to kind of help get rid of it. So where you're standing, there's generally a throw rug there and a throw rug there, and we get rid of them when we play. So that's what we do, yeah.
What is another place in Chicago that you play where it's like, oh, well, I guess you don't want to say it's bad or anything, but like, oh, it's really different than the Hideout?
Different than the Hideout. I occasionally play at the Cultural Center. They have lunchtime jazz gigs in the cafe. And it's a really open, big room that reverberates a lot. And that poses a unique challenge for me, to try to control my sound and play with intensity but without playing too loud. And I also recently played outside last weekend. I played a couple gigs outside, and that's completely different. You really have to adjust when you're doing that. Because like we were playing, and there was all the cicadas were out. So I was playing, and I finished the song, and we were playing under a tent, and a cicada fell from the tent and landed on my snare drum, on its back. And I flipped it over, and it flew away. But I was getting attacked by him all day. It was amazing. We're playing, and get knocked in the face by a cicada. They're really amazing.
What kind of sound does a cicada give?
something like that.
Did it sound okay on the snare?
On the snare, it sounded like this. Or actually, the snare was on, so it was like this. It was surprising.